Training camp is officially here. Well, kind of. 81 Eagles players are at the Novacare complex currently. Some are battling for starting roles, others for their long-term futures, and a few are on the very edge of the roster bubble, needing every opportunity to prove their worth in an off-season without OTAs and without a preseason. But the question is, how many of those 81 players are on the roster bubble? Here's a comprehensive look at each position before the going gets tough. As always, a massive thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this content. We really do love you guys. We wouldn't be here without you. If you haven't subscribed already, it would be amazing if you could do so. Turn notifications on so you never miss an Eagles video again. Don't forget to get your daily dose of Philadelphia sports coverage from myself and all of our writers over at phillysportsnetwork.com. Alright, it's time to start off with the quarterback position, and there's a very intriguing battle, and we're not talking about Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts. I am absolutely locked in on what the future holds here for both Nate Sudfeld and Kyle Lauletta. They're two quarterbacks at the different end of the spectrum. Sudfeld has been around the roster since 2017, and as we know from many a breakdown, has never been trusted to fully step up into a QB2 role. And before his preseason injury last year, he did look pretty shaky in training camp. He may well have hit his ceiling in this system, and that's okay, but the quarterback factory has to keep moving. We have to keep that conveyor belt going. So we enter former New York Giant and Richmond Spider Kyle Lauletta, who was oddly tossed to the roadside after the bizarre drafting of Daniel Jones, but that's a very different story for a different day. This battle could go either way. Sudfeld has all the chemistry and playbook knowledge to hit the ground running, but is his on-field play as strong as Lauletta's arm? Only time will tell. The Eagles did like Lauletta before the draft process, and I don't think the Eagles will carry four quarterbacks if they can help it. The other question would be that Jalen Hurts might not be ready to be QB2 right away. Sudfeld's playbook knowledge, again, gives him an instant upper hand here in an off-season where there is no preseason or OTAs. So if it is safer to keep one of those guys above Hurts, this isn't just for QB3. This could be a short-term QB2 role, a platform to at least give yourself a chance at catching on elsewhere while you're not going to be stagnated by the long-term development of Jalen Hurts. So there's a lot riding on this battle. I would personally hedge my bets on Kyle Lauletta. I love his skill set a lot more than what Sudfeld brings to the table, but again, that upper hand could be crucial, so keep your eyes on that QB position. Running back, we'll see a holy trinity, if you will. Pardon the pun, but it also possesses a knockout punch. There's two just to get your value. If that doesn't deserve a like, I don't know what will. But we're of course talking about the trio of undrafted free agents here: Michael Warren, Elijah Holyfield, and Adrian Killins Jr. The Eagles' search for a veteran running back is bringing back no food for the table, and this trio of underdogs are getting hungrier by the day. Two are power backs, while Killins brings a more explosive and slightly elusive skill set to the table. The Eagles didn't replace Jordan Howard this offseason, and while Corey Clement could keep his spot on merit alone, that fourth place will go to one of these third-team offenses when you're looking at Jalen Hurts and maybe Adrian Killins Jr. with Kez Watkins outside. Like, could you imagine a more fun training camp battle to watch? No, but it would be fun to watch them in the first place. Damn, I hate this pandemic. At tight end, there is only one man that's arguably on the bubble, and that's Noah Togiai, someone that the Eagles did invest heavily in terms of their undrafted contract, but I think that he's going to be in a battle with Josh Perkins. Both should make the roster, although I think Togiai's probably going to go on the practice squad to begin with. But Perkins has enjoyed flurries of production during his 2 years with the Eagles, and while he isn't on the bubble, I think Togiai's skill set of being a more explosive receiver should at least give him a run for his money, and act as a grading scale here. So if Togiai can explode out and really put the pressure on Josh Perkins, then I can't see why they can't keep a fourth tight end, or maybe even find a new candidate for that Trey Burton role, so to speak. On the offensive line, we've got Julian Good-Jones, Sua Opeta, and Casey Tucker. Cutting Keegan Render only makes this situation more interesting, because the Eagles, of course, drafted Jack Driscoll and Prince Tega Wannigo, which limits the ceiling of these three players. The trio should be competing for practice squad spots. I mean, Casey Tucker does have former experience with the team. Maybe he's kept on because depth is a little bit top heavy at the minute. Only time will tell, but I think these are going to be the guys really duking it out to try and sneak on as maybe that 9th or 10th lineman here. Wide receiver, there are more names than you'd think. We've obviously got Manessa Bailey, the undrafted free agent, then both Deontay Burnett and Robert Davis, who saw the field last year for the Eagles. And I'm going to put Kes Watkins here as well. Even though he was a 6th round pick and of course is going to be valued by the team, I didn't really like what I saw on film. He's a 4.35 guy. This should be someone that has blazing speed on tape, and for me, it just didn't translate. Now, yes, he's been helped out by Marquise Goodwin opting out of the season and therefore bumping him up the depth chart, especially in terms of being a slot guy, but I don't think it is anywhere near a given. He's going to have his work cut out for him. Let's not forget that Deontay Burnett caught a 40-yard catch against the Giants last year, and Davis is coming off of an injury-stricken few years where he could do with that off-season leverage, where maybe a training camp is what you'd want to see. And obviously, let's not discount Bailey, who is slightly taller at 6'1", but ran a 4.3940 out of Morgan State. This could be a real surprise bubble battle here, and with Goodwin's departure, who knows who's going to make the final cut. On to defensive end, there's two names once again. It's 7th round pick Casey Toohill. He'll be taking on Joe Ostman, a man that everyone seems to be besotted with. The Eagles scout team absolutely love him, but he's coming off of a torn ACL and his potential could well be put on hold now that Toohill is in the mix. Ostman needs to find some kind of resurgence, and bouncing back from an ACL is by no means an easy task, especially when you've got someone like Toohill breathing down your neck. Depth at defensive end is organically very light. From top down, there is not a lot the Eagles are working with. The ceiling of this battle, if either of these players can shine, is really, really high, but the floor could well be practice squad spots or maybe even worse, so there's a lot to play for here. Defensive tackle, I've gone with Anthony Rush and Rayquan Williams, who was signed as an undrafted free agent this year, but I was besotted with Anthony Rush out of UAB. 6'5", 350 pounds, was the perfect big body to suck up double teams and allow Cox to thrive if he can refine his technique and explosion off the line. And I think we saw some development last year. He actually saw the field due to the injury bug ripping through the position, and he didn't look that bad. But breathing down his neck, Rayquan Williams is someone that had 17.5 sacks during his last 2 years as a Spartan. This is the ultimate sleeper pick. The Eagles could well be looking at someone that could sneak onto the back end. The rotation at defensive tackle is really strong. There's no denying that. It is very, very strong indeed. There's 4 names that are not going to be unseated here. Will they take a 5th or keep a few on the practice squad? Only time will tell, and that's what this training camp battle's about. And back here, we've got Jatavis Brown, who can't tackle in the open field, Dante Olson, and Sean Bradley, who was a 6th round pick this year. So this is going to be interesting. Letting Bradham and KGH walk could be costly if they don't find long-term replacements, and whether that's through guys like Davion Taylor or Will Parks or even developmental talents like TJ Edwards, they need project players like this to keep the conveyor belt moving. And the linebacker position has been suspect for a while. I've got my own thoughts on the direction they're going with it. I think it's going to be more DB orientated personally. However, they need to try and find some sustenance at linebacker, and all 3 of these players have to prove their worth. Let's not forget, last year's undrafted crop included names like Alex Singleton and TJ Edwards, both of whom figure to be key players on the roster, one on special teams, the other as a potential starting mic in base defense looks. So I understand the need here. Just keep an eye on this position battle. Any 3 of these names could end up having a very strong summer and sticking around. We're going to move to cornerback now, and we're listing Rasul Douglas, as much as I hate to do it, but the Eagles have 7 corners on the roster as things stand. Jones and Maddox battling for CB2, LeBlanc is duking out with Roby Coleman, and Darius Slay locks down CB1. It kind of leaves Douglas out in the cold here, but he has been putting in a lot of work this offseason, and there definitely appears to be a rift between how the coaching staff and front office view him. We know there have been trade talks throughout the offseason. He still has a really high ceiling, in my opinion, and could force himself onto the roster as the primary CB1 backup behind Darius Slay, considering they've been working with the same coach. But knowing that he's already taken a pay cut, his contract is easy to move on from now, I don't see it being very easy for Douglas to stick on because, well, at the end of the day, you can only have one CB2. That would leave Maddox or Jones the primary backup behind Slay. So it depends how the coaching staff view it, and the other man he's of course going up against is Craig James, the man who is best known for that tip pass against the Green Bay Packers. This will be fun to watch. I really hope Rasul Douglas sticks around. I've got so much love and adoration for his game. Fingers crossed this offseason of work has been enough to propel him into a slightly more secure roster spot. And finally, at safety, we've got Marcus Epps, ready, and Grayland Arnold. Epps will be forever linked with that awful play against Seattle in the playoffs, while Rudy Ford's hard-hitting special teams ability will now go head-to-head with Grayland Arnold, an undrafted free agent who the Eagles coaching staff loves so much they've moved from cornerback to safety. And hey, PSN were the ones to break that news, so PSN season, baby, we move. But they want to groom him into a future starter. However, for that to happen, he'll have to show he's got what it takes at the Novacare Complex Proving Grounds. And on that note, who do you think will show they have got the mettle to beat a Philadelphia Eagle in 2020? Let me know down in the comments below. Which sleepers are you hoping make the roster? From myself, Liam Jenkins, thank you for watching this video. We'll see you soon.